So Bob Arum came out and stated that he talked to Al Haymon, and Al told him that they're looking to make the fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford next year. And then Bob Arum proposed a 45 to 45 split and 10% split for the winner. Now, I could care less as far as who gets what split, as long as I get to see the fight. But that's totally BS what he just said. I mean, today he already came out and stated that it's above their budget to get a Crawford fight because they can't afford to pay him, because they can't put Terence Crawford on pay-per-view due to the fact that Terence Crawford last couple pay-per-view fights haven't been successful. However, Errol Spence, on the other hand, his first pay-per-view fight was very successful versus Mikey Garcia, selling 400,000 pay-per-views. And that was the first time Errol Spence being on pay-per-view, including Mikey Garcia. However, on the other hand, Terence Crawford already been on pay-per-view. Amir Khan already been on pay-per-view a couple times. And they couldn't pull in half of the numbers that Errol Spence pulled in. But you want a 50-50 split? Obviously, Errol Spence and his team and Al Haymon gonna tell him absolutely not. So far is a 60-40 split. Now, if Errol Spence gets the belt from Sean Porter, especially if he fights him on pay-per-view, then fight Keith Thurman on pay-per-view and get that belt, then he's finna have 3 titles and 3 major pay-per-view bouts where he probably did extremely well. I know he will do extremely well in the pay-per-view fight with Keith Thurman. Then he clearly the A side, and he could demand up to 70 to 30% split to his favor. The reason why is because he's the bigger name. He got more belts in the welterweight division, 3-1. And also, he sells more tickets, just like he did in the Cowboy Stadium. He sold up to 47,000 tickets against Mikey Garcia. And before that, he fought an unknown fighter from Mexico that was his mandatory. And he sold like 18 to 15,000 tickets by himself. And with the pay-per-view numbers that Errol Spence is pulling in, it's not even a debate who's the biggest star, especially when Bob Arum already admitted that he can't put Terence Crawford on pay-per-view because they don't be successful. And that's why Terence Crawford shouldn't have signed with Top Rank. But he already did. It's too late for that. So as far as what Bob Arum is saying, I could guarantee you whatever Bob Arum proposed as far as the splits is not what's finna be on the contract if the fight get made. Because if that's what Bob Arum got in mind, then might well go a different route, because you ain't finna fight Errol Spence 50-50 with these numbers that you pulling in with Terence Crawford, especially if you're not even willing to give Terence Crawford the Kell Brook fights and you just want him to keep fighting fighters with no names because you don't want to invest in your own fighter. That ain't finna happen. I'm just trying to let y'all know right now as we speak, because he talking mad rubbish as far as the splits and all that. Like I said, he be lucky if he gets 60-40 split. 65-35, I believe that's what will be the split if Errol Spence is able to pull off all them belts and all them pay-per-view numbers he finna do with Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. And if not, then 60-40 will be reasonable. And if Al Haymon is able to finesse Bob Arum, then he probably get 70-30 split to Errol Spence's favor. Because at the end of the day, Terence Crawford really need the Errol Spence fight. However, Errol Spence got way more options as far as the Sean Porter, the Keith Thurman, and even at 154, he got so many options. The Herds, the J. Rock Williams fights, and at 160, the Canelo fight. So he got so many options that he could afford not to have the Terence Crawford fight. But I'm pretty sure he wants the Terence Crawford fight because that's the most important fight. And because Terence Crawford holds the #1 pound-for-pound status, then he got to go through Terence Crawford. And the fans won't let that happen. But if Bob Arum is the one stopping the fight from happening like he did with the Pacquiao fight, blame it on old Bob yet again. Someone tell Bob Arum you can't take that money with you to the grave. I don't know what he finna do with that money, but like I said, the Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, one thing for sure that we do know, it's not a 50-50 split. I could care less about it, but like I said, HAYMON is 100 times smarter than me and you and all of us combined. And if I could see that it's not a 50-50 split type of fight, I know HAYMON can too. So, like I always say, subscribe below if you're trying to get smarter by the minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't listen to these casual ass fans. But I find it funny how Bob Arum was talking about boycotting HAYMON and PBC, but he out here working with them side by side. And now that he done lost Ruiz, Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, now he got no choice but to work with the enemies. I mean, the same people he sued for $100 million, the same people he was talking about boycotting. So to each your own. Peace, and we outie.